on my page. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, guys.
Hello, people out there.
So my frustration before we start is that I couldn't get it onto my Now Coach page. But that's okay, because we got it on this and we've got some kind of way of getting it out there. So good morning, everyone that's going to be watching, and good morning, my beauties that are on here with me. So I'm really grateful to have you guys with me again today. So today's talks, we're going to be talking about frustration, and we're also going to span off from that as well if we decide to go that way and talk about different tools, techniques, and what we're actually experiencing at the moment. So this morning I heard some really sad news that one of Ethan's school friends, who's he's very good friends with, unfortunately, I mean, I don't know exactly what's happened, but I know that it was from the virus, and I think his father has passed away. That has just hit me like a train track, because he's only a young man, and obviously he's got a beautiful family and is leaving them. And my frustration, obviously I've got grief hidden in there, because I mean, it's grief for them, grief for Ethan. He's having to experience these things at such a young age. Grief and frustration is the fact that I can't do anything that I'd like to do at this point to help, you know, because obviously it's for them to want to talk about things and to come to me and to help them. So it's a kind of frustration there. And just the frustration as to what the hell is going on. It's a bit mad. So that unfortunately has happened today, and luckily enough I had a good chat with Susanna actually about half an hour ago. We've been talking, and I was in quite a weird state in the fact that I felt like this, you know, it's a physical feeling in my stomach, and like a spiky kind of a feeling that was manifesting in my gut. And we managed to talk between us, and she was coaching me. We got up to some nice levels, you know. So we'll go through some of that, because it's really helped me this morning, which I'm extremely grateful for, Susanna. But as a general, so frustration, it comes and it arises when we know that something isn't working, or refuse to do anything about it, or when we're doing something about it, nothing happens because of it, you know, it's to no avail, and we're refusing to let things go. And often this is because some part of us may be more afraid of letting things go than to continue to have it maybe in a mild misery. So we avoid generally to move on, because moving on means change. And change is hard generally, so we try and resist it. We like our comfort zones. So this is the resistance that we experience, which can lead to frustration as well. And we operate in the same way as nature. Nature's constantly changing and constantly growing. Always our lives as humans give us the illusion that we are doing the same things and we're static, a consistency, and we're on a path. But ultimately, we are change. And it's accepting it, that things are inevitable, they are going to change, and we have no control over those changes that are coming to us and for us and around us. And accepting that, because whatever's in control may be greater than what we can control, and all we can control is in our world. So it's knowing how to control those things, how we're feeling, and the frustrations that we can lead to feel before it gets to an anger stage, or a depression stage, or any stage that is unresourceful. So it's trying to control the trigger before it hits, you know. So frustration that's a general overview of frustration. So I'm going to throw it out to Kate, because I'm just looking at you. Kate, good morning, darling. What a face, what a beautiful face.
Good morning. So frustration. I think from my point of view, I think it tends to be there's a lot of shoulds in frustration. Like shoulds and shouldn'ts. This shouldn't have happened, this should happen, you should be like this, I should be more this. And then the frustration comes from that. And I think the frustration then is a feeling in the body that you get, and then all the words start coming in, don't they, in the head, all the thoughts about the frustration, because the suffering isn't really the feeling. It feels a bit bad, but we make it a million times worse by the way we judge ourselves for the way that we're feeling, and the way we sort of push down and suppress the feelings. You know, I'm all about feelings, and and the way that we deal with our emotions, and the way that we judge ourselves for the emotions that we have. And so the body feeling is something we can't control. It just comes. Our brain will make that happen. It sends out hormones and they happen in a microsecond. We get the feeling, but it's all the things that come after that. So if we could just stay with the feeling and just allow the feeling to be, that would be gone quite quickly. But it's all, once the mind gets involved, it starts telling all its stories and calling yourself names, like the inner critic comes in, doesn't it? And said, oh, you shouldn't be like this, and you're stupid, and this, that, and the other, and you just get even more frustrated. And then that goes round and round in a circle, more and more frustration, and then it builds, and then we get overwhelmed by it. So we can't really control the feeling, but what we can control and learn to control, and maybe get help to do it if you can't do it on your own, is to control what we say to ourselves, how often we do it, and how much, you know, the intensity of what we say to ourselves, you know. So I always say that just stop. When you feel it, stop, take a breath, and then try and just get into the body, because if you do that, then you're shutting off the head and all its stupid ramblings, and you're just getting into what's the real feeling. And then once you're into that feeling, then you can ask yourself, okay, then you can ask your mind, well, what is it difficult for me to feel right now? What is it I can't bear? What is it I want to know right now? What is the thing that's happening right now? And then do that with kindness and compassion. And like I always say, treat the feeling, no matter how bad it feels, treat it like a little child that needs looking after and loving, and just asking it, what does it need? What does it want? What is it I really need now? And then saying, well, what do I need more of? What is it I want? So if I'm frustrated, say, for example, I don't know, I have a disagreement with my husband, and he does something that he shouldn't have done, because my mind says you shouldn't act like this, something you can't control because it's outside of yourself, then I say, well, what do I need more of? When he said that to me, and I felt frustrated because he didn't do what I wanted him to do, because he did what he wanted, not I wanted. So what did I want more of then? Did I want more love? Did I want more respect? Did I want more, you know, what was the thing I needed more of? And then the thing is to say, okay, I wanted more respect. So how can I respect him more? Turn it round. Say, well, okay, how can I give more respect? If I want more respect and I'm not feeling respected, give it out more. If I want more love, then just be more loving out. The more that we can be what we want to see more of in the world, then the more it comes to us. And it's this whole law of attraction thing. The more we are what we want, the more we'll get it. And then you find when you do that, you act from a place of love and kindness and compassion, then the bad feelings, that we call them, tend to just melt away. But the key thing is first, sit with the feeling. Be with the feeling first. Allow it to be as it is. These feelings are messages. They are your guidance system, and every single feeling, no matter how bad it is a brilliant insight into something that you need more of in your life. And the more you can tune into those feelings, and maybe at first you have to do it a little bit, just try it, just sit into it a little bit, you know, maybe it's overwhelming. So you have to learn how to do this safely for yourself. And the more you can practice that, and the more you can just allow your feelings to be and listen to them and see what the message is, then the more you'll learn and the more alive you feel. Because if we don't have the negative feelings, then we don't have, it's a bit like a palette of colours. If you've just got all the wishy-washy, sort of pretty colours, it's all very well, but if you haven't got any black, then you don't get the rich colours, you don't get that beautiful dark, you know, spectrum of colours. And we need all the colours in our life. And so try not to judge the feeling, just allow it. Don't make your body wrong for the way you feel. And then don't let your mind shame you and start talking crap about all the things you're doing wrong and everything else. Just be with the feeling, work out what you need more of, and then go out and give that. If not to others, give it to yourself at least. And so that's my first thing. Look out for shoulds. If you're speaking shoulds, then that's a clue that you're starting to judge yourself and judge other people, and you're doing all these things that because you're feeling in a certain way. So go back to the feeling. That's the source. That's the clue. That's the gold in there, and work out from that. So that's my first.
Okay,
I might come up with other things later.
Yeah, we will. We're going to chat today.
Yeah.
Open and authentic, and just expressing exactly how we feel and exactly how we get through this, because we're all in this boat. We are in this boat. We are floating, and we will continue to float.
So I would say, Danielle, what's the thing you want more of now in this feeling of frustration and sadness? What do you want more of?
I want to be able to give more. I want to be able to give support, and I want to be able to give tools to help. I want to be able to give a cuddle. I want to be able to give some love to those kids, and she's wonderful, the wife. I want to be able to be there for my child if he's experiencing these things that are quite a lot for a 10-year-old to experience.
Yeah, sure. And so I would say to you now, what is in your control now to do with all of that? You know, go and give a hug. You can do that with your son. Go and hug yourself. How can I hug myself? Because you want love. That's what you're saying. You want to give love, but it's because you want it yourself too.
Oh,
so
I love
how can you be more loving to yourself right now, as well as all this giving, this wonderful giving that you do? You're just such a beautiful, warm-hearted person that you want to give outside, but give it to yourself as well. Don't forget that. Make it.
I try very much every morning to give myself what I need as well. I do. Obviously things hit us on a daily basis, different things that we are challenged with, and it takes a while to kind of balance it all out in your head and in your heart and in your being, like how to deal with these things. And I have to say, you guys are an absolute saviour when it comes to things like that, because you help me to get back onto the level that I need to give myself what I need as well. So yeah, I'm eternally grateful. And that, I hope by what we're doing is other people can get those tools as well, because that's giving. And I just feel like I just need to give as much of my heart that I can at this moment.
Yeah, and you are, and you do. Beautiful.
Yeah. Susie, my darling.
Oh, wow, I have so much to say. I hope I'll be able to keep track of all these ideas that are just, coming into my mind now. But
I feel dizzy.
I was discussing with Danielle earlier about this, and we realized that actually, as we were talking, that we are frustrated because we can't do. So frustration is a hot emotion, right? It's a warm emotion, and it's energetic emotion as compared to anxiety, fear, and depression, for instance, which brings you down. So anger, frustration, it's a hot feeling that we need to do something with. And so frustration, we're saying, is requiring action. And the idea that we feel or we think that we can't do is the one that generates more frustration than anything. Because of the limited definitions that we have about ourselves, we already consciously, unconsciously have a certain definition, certain limits, and we think that we can only cope with that much, that we can only do that much, and that there's only that much that you can do with a certain difficult situation. And this is coaching. What coaching is about: expanding that possibility of being, expanding the access to resources. And so then we all discover, until the moment we're out of this body, we discover that we can cope with things, and that there's always a possibility to accept, always a new way to look at it, and there's always resources at our disposal. But what I wanted to say initially when I was thinking of this subject, and what I wanted to bring to our conversation, is a bit of the Ayurvedic point of view, where in Ayurveda we establish the balance by applying the opposite quality of that which created the imbalance. All right, so let's say if at the source of my imbalance now is cold, I will apply heat. That's the general guideline in Ayurveda. So we are applying antidotes. So using this frame of thinking, the Ayurvedic frame of thinking, I was thinking what would be the antidotes for frustration, because you have to apply something. You can't just let it be there and be eaten by it or being diminished by it. So I looked into different levels or layers of frustration. And the first one is the most, the less important one. And less dramatic, like what could happen now in households, being annoyed by your children, being annoyed by your husband, being annoyed that you cannot buy the bread where you used to buy, or have your coffee at the coffee store. And so this type of little frustration that we can, they're not that important, they're not that traumatic, but it still brings a daily level of frustration that could build up. And for this, the antidote would be humor and playfulness. And we see that a lot in the social media. We see all these memes and all these jokes, and it helps us. It is very sane. You see people doing all kind of funny videos with how they do sport activity in the house. It makes us laugh, and laughter and playfulness and, being creative is the antidote for this type of particular frustration. But then there is another type of frustration which reaches levels that Alay was mentioning earlier, and she'll be talking more about that, the level of frustration that touches in more important aspects of our lives, like such as your work, you lose your job, how are you going to pay your mortgage, how are you going to pay your bills. So these are serious. We can't just joke too much about that, because it becomes more instinctive. We need to survive, right? So what would be the antidote for that, Danielle? I'm launching you the question. I have an idea, but I want to know what you think.
The antidote for, well, I would say to dig deep and do more of what you love. So whether that means, if you're doing it from a place of love, it will expand. And see, money, I believe, money is kind of like an energy as well, and you can attract it. And obviously everyone's going through some strange times, especially in my industry. A lot of people aren't even getting help from the government. A lot of people aren't getting the 80% because they're self-employed, but they're not in the category of PAYE, or they're not in, there's a lot of people like that. So there's a lot of people, well, and like us, there's a lot of people like us in the world but if you can give what your heart is, what the purpose you're on this planet for, if you can give that energy will come back and you will get what you need. It might not be millions of pounds, but it will be what you need to survive and to get through, because what we need isn't necessarily what we think we need. It's what we are and what we can exist with. So that's what I would say to them. Can we go to Lee?
I have one more level. I have one more. Or you want to ask the same questions?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
For me, the antidote for that is what we're doing now. Be creative and use this time to redefine yourself, to create a version of yourself, because your old version is not fitting in what's happening anymore. And so you have to create a new version of I'm sorry, sometimes the word, but it would be smart to use this time to create a new version of yourself, and to start to learn new tools, to start to learn new skills, and to develop new capacities, and simply download them from the collective mind. I mean, in NLP, there's so many fantastic tools. We can simply connect with somebody that has certain skills and ask your neurology to connect with that and develop certain skills. But that takes a bit of self-reflection, and coaching here is not to sell my services or our services here, but coaching is important. And if you cannot afford that, you can actually go, there's plenty of free materials such as this conference here, and plenty of other people offering all kinds of services. So using your time, this is the action. The action is learn, study, practice, do your meditation, do everything that you learned so far that works to develop new strengths and new qualities. And a good question would be important to ask yourself, what type of qualities would I need now to go through times like this?
Very great.
What is it that I'm lacking? Because obviously I feel that I'm not enough, right? My definition of self is that I'm not enough to deal with what's happening. So for you, just because I have another point just to tell you, but you, Danielle, what do you think, what would be the quality that you would need to develop now, to invoke, to awaken, and to develop in you to be able to deal with this in a better way?
I think I'm okay. I think I'm good, because I think I've got everything around me that I need to get through.
I see. So problem solved.
And it's acceptance, and it's, you know, letting things go that are not in your control. So, you know, obviously loss and grief is something that is uncontrollable, and but it's accepting, and it's allowing life to flow as it needs to flow.
Yeah, as it is. Yeah, because that brings me to the third level of frustration, which I have identified. There's no book on that. Yeah. That's in my thinking. Try to structure the information so it makes sense. Is the deeper level of frustration, which could be situations such as you described, when you lose someone, when somebody very dear to you, somebody you know, is passing away, and that you cannot help them. When you cannot see, such as myself, my parents are in Canada, and my dad is in a residence, and he's 80 years old. And of course, I would like to be able to see them, to go there, but I can't, and I don't know for how long. So it's a deeper frustration. And there's also all kinds of other frustrations that can come up to the surface now because they're triggered by what's happening, like relationship problems. I'm talking to people during the crisis, some of my clients, and they mentioned me the relationships with a mom. It's still the most preoccupying thought for them now. So this frustration can bring forth and to the surface deeply rooted frustrations. And we all know here probably, and those who are listening, we all have in our lives areas where we can't change anything. We all reach at a certain point something that we can't change no matter what we do, no matter how many years we worked on, no matter how many things we applied, that thing won't change. And that's what I call the deeper level of frustration that comes. Even I myself, I experienced frustration against God. I had a personal conversation with God a long time ago. And that level of frustration, why now? Why here? Why am I here? What do you want from me? You know, I mean, we reach some of these levels of frustration can come up to the surface, and the antidote here will be letting go and acceptance. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, letting go.
So I have something to say about letting go and acceptance, but maybe you want to make the tour, and I come back to that later. So I give it back to you, Danielle.
Susanna, thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. Right, Lee, my gorgeous Lee, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I should be writing down like little notes, because there was some stuff that Kate said that I really, really love, particularly about, you know, taking it, what you're expecting from other people, you know, bringing it and actually giving it not only to yourself, but not only to them, but also giving it to yourself, which I think is very vital. But on the level where you guys are talking, Susanna, right now, the frustration is, in South Africa, we've just been given 2 extra weeks of lockdown, bringing it to 5 weeks. So we thought we had a week to go, but now we've got 3 weeks to go. And we're not able to go walking outside. So you kind of have to stay in your house. You're allowed to go to the shops. But literally the closest shops to you, and, you know, there are roadblocks and things of people, because there are those that feel that they're better than the rest of us and they must go and do what they want to do. But the frustration for me that has really come to the surface is paying rent for my office, because not having the clients that I have had, and traditionally I haven't done any online work. My work has all been one-on-one with my clients every day. And now I'm in a situation where I'm not seeing clients, and I'm having to re-educate and change myself, become the new version of myself. So having the skills I have is great, because what I've learned is with all these things, the first we have to work out is can I change it? What can I, what can't I change of any situation? So if you're experiencing frustration now, what about the situation is unchangeable? What about the situation is changeable? And even if you can't physically change the situation, because if somebody is ill, you physically cannot go and change that person's illness or their wellness or whatever. But what you can do is change the way you respond to it, or the way you help, or the way you you do things, but at the same time the situation can't change. The next then is to think, okay, what do I have to accept in the situation? How am I going to accept it? How am I going to look at that situation and say, okay, I now have to accept that I may have to lose my office, and that may mean that I lose a lot of money in the process, but I won't die. I will have enough. You know what I mean? So it's kind of this sort of acceptance-y thing that goes along with it. And then finally, the thing for me is the move on. And we've all touched on it in different ways, because I think bottom line is that's what we have to do with this kind of thing, is how do I move on in a different way? So my moving on has included our conversations, you know, connecting with people from all over the entire globe that are going through this experience. You know, in South Africa, we've gone through incredible things I was actually in the UK when Mandela was released, but I mean, it was really, even though it was global, it was a South African thing, you know. I remember being at Wembley Stadium, enjoying the experience of it, and being a South African made me so proud at that time. But now we're in a situation where across this entire globe, all of us collectively are going through something, which I think is, you know, if you look at it in times of war, whenever there's massive pressure, human beings come up with beautiful, amazing things. So what are we going to come up with that's going to be good? And it's the thing that lifts me out of the frustration is what is the new? How am I going to move forward? And if I lose my office, maybe, I hope I don't, touch wood, but if I do, maybe it means that this online thing is going to get even bigger, and I'll be able to work with, I mean, you know, I lived in the UK for, I suppose, 10 years with my husband, and a couple of years before when I was still traveling. But, you know, I'd love to be seeing more UK clients online, more people from all over the world, learning about them, you know, helping. So maybe these things that are such hardships and such frustrations are ways of us growing. You know, is there a way you can send flowers online? Are you allowed to in the UK? You know, obviously you could sort of, you can't physically cuddle, but it's creating a new experience of dealing with it. And I mean, it is such an incredibly strange, weird sort of thing, you know, not meeting in the coffee shop for coffee, but still those moments of connection with our friends during the day, having that cup of coffee, you know, even if it's your own, whatever. I think in South Africa, a big conflict or a big sort of fear will be that we're not allowed to buy alcohol. So
really, because in the UK you are, so that's very interesting. Actually, you're not allowed to buy alcohol.
No, not at all. So everyone's stocked up for 3 weeks. Now we're going to extra 2 weeks, so it's going to be quite an interesting thing. Yeah.
When did that change? When did they stop that?
The day we had lockdown. So wow. we were given a period of sort of over about 36 hours before the lockdown started. So everyone dashed off and did a couple of days, I think we had. So everyone was sort of quickly going and buying food and alcohol and whatever. Wow. So yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so the level, the bottom line really, I think is what I'm saying is, what can you change? What can't you change? How are you going to change the things within that you can? What can you accept? And how do you feel about yourself in accepting it? Going back to Kate, sort of feeling things. And then how am I going to move on? How am I going to?
Do you know, I find that so interesting. I mean, absolutely perfect. Thank you, Lee. That was brilliant. And I find that very interesting that so are you allowed to go to shops to buy essentials like food?
Yeah.
But just not
no clothing. We can't buy clothing or anything like that. Only baby clothes.
So that's interesting, because like it's almost like some people are using alcohol as an emotional crutch, aren't they? And if that emotional crutch is gone, that's another form of frustration that they're going to be dealing with. So that's very interesting. In France, because Susanna and Kate, you're both in France, aren't you? So is this the same situation in France, or is no, you can still?
Yeah, I mean, never interdict wine to French people.
Okay, so again, Kate.
I was saying, I heard in America, the supermarkets, they've closed down, so you can only buy food. All the other sections are closed off. You can't go and buy other stuff. But, in French supermarkets, everything you can still buy everything that's in there.
Yeah, so it's like almost like the numbing down technique that people have been using to kind of like sedate and to calm the nerves that is at risk of not being able to be used. So it really is coming into your own body and to having to deal with what is going on.
But that's a great time to cut back on your alcohol consumption, I've got to say, you know, because
smoking and
there's no such thing as a healthy level of alcohol to take. So why not be a bit more healthy? And but I'm like, I don't think you
can buy cigarettes here either.
Sorry, Lee, what was that?
I don't think you can buy cigarettes here either. Kate was just talking about,
Okay.
I don't smoke, so I don't know.
Help with addictions, guys.
Yeah, we're
absolutely.
Stop smoking now. But the thing I was going to say was there's a big thing in France at the moment. I know about there's a lot of domestic violence. You know, people are stuck at home. You know, people are drinking maybe a bit too much, do nothing else, and these sort of things are sort of spiraling out of control as well. And people, because they're stuck at home, they're not able to get somewhere private to ring to ask for help. You know, this is becoming. There's a lot of people really suffering.
Oh my gosh!
Just being stuck at home. So, and what do you do with that? You know, I mean, you want to run away, and you can't even leave your home. Yeah.
No, there was actually a Facebook post that was going around that said, if you're in struggles and in trouble at home, message me that you need to use you need to buy some makeup. And then that's a way of contacting someone. Or if the other was, or if you're being abused, the message that you need to use some eyeliner. I need to buy some eyeliner, because it's a way of contacting people without anyone else knowing what's going on, so you know that there's a problem there. So I thought that was quite interesting, that people are using different tools to help give people a way to come forward and stuff. But when we're dealing with frustration, it can be miscalibrated. If you're frustrated, you don't know how to use that energy as well. And that's not good, as it can lead to stress and anxiety. So if you can get to control your breathing, get in the now state, so you can bring everything into the present, and you do your breathing, focus on your breath, focus on a point on the wall. I mean, we can describe the now state. We could describe the now state.
You could just do it now, yeah.
Okay, so my version, because this has really helped a lot of people that I've spoken to, you know, that have phoned me up. So my version.
Do it now, let's do it.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to notice a point in front of you, just on the wall, a little mark or a light switch or something that you can just take notice of. And while you're looking at that point on the wall, I'd just like you to concentrate on your breathing, nice and relaxed, and notice that every in-breath is controlled and every out-breath is slow, and you can notice that, and you're noticing this point on the wall. And while you're noticing this point on the wall and you're breathing, everything starts to calm and slow down. And you can also notice that you're able to see the ceiling and also the floor through the peripheral vision of your eyes, but you're still noticing your breathing, the mark on the wall, the ceiling, the floor. And then you start noticing that you can actually see all around the side of you too. So you can see all your peripheral vision is coming into clear view, and you're still taking note of the ceiling, the floor, the peripherals, the mark on the wall, nice and calm breathing, in and out, nice and relaxed. And just stay like that for a couple of seconds. Just breathing, noticing everything. And then as you're in that state, you'll then notice that you can also hear, apart from my voice, little things that are going on in the background. Maybe the whir of a fan, the TV in the background, a car driving past, birds singing outside, ceiling, the floor, the peripherals. Even further than that, you can see into your local town, because you know where everything is. You can visualize everything. Notice your breathing nice and calm, ceiling, floor, peripherals, the sounds. And then you notice that your feet are touching the ground. You can feel your feet maybe in your socks or in your slippers, in your shoes. Your hands just touching wherever they're touching the material on your legs. Maybe they're touching each other. Your hair touching the back of your neck. You can feel every hair molecule really, because you're part of your body. You're still taking note of the ceiling, the floor, the mark on the wall. You're breathing nice and calm, nice and relaxed, everything that you hear around you. And while you're in this state, you're so totally at one with yourself. You're in the present. And while you're in the present state, you can deal with everything on the present level, and all the answers and all the resources that you ever need will be able to come to you. And all you have to do is just stay in the present and ask. And just breathe. How did that feel to you guys? Was that okay?
Yeah, lovely.
Lovely, thank you.
That's great. And whilst we're in that state, we can then get good anchoring, because while we're in that state, what's important to you? What do you love doing? Let's ask Kate. Kate, I'm going to just do a little way of my anchoring that I do. So this is what helped me actually, Susanna, when I was in that kind of unresourceful state, to get me to a more resourceful state. And while we're in the now state, I'd like to ask Kate, so is there something that you absolutely adore doing?
Singing.
And
walking in nature, being outside in nature, in touch with
lovely.
Yeah, the trees and the plants and the animals and the rocks.
Oh, it's beautiful. So while you're in touch with the nature and the animals, and you're singing and you're just free outside, how does that make you feel?
Open. I just my chest opens up, my shoulders go back, I just open up. There's more space somehow between all the atoms in my body. Everything just opens, and I'm just connected with everything, getting energy. I can feel it just flowing in and flowing through me, and so I'm more alive and more at peace as well. There's like a peace of mind and aliveness in my body at the same time.
It's beautiful. Now, sometimes you have to go through a few levels to get to that openness. So, because I'd then say, well, even more than open. What are you? Are you even more than open? Is there any more that you can be?
I think it's like there's a movement with it. It's opening. It's like a expansion. So it's like it's like I'm moving apart, and there's just more space everywhere. More space in my body, more space in my mind. Everything is just a feeling of space as I expand outwards. And I guess it's because I'm connecting with everything that I'm just becoming this space, just it being, not doing anything, not thinking anything, but just like being in space.
So while you're in that beautiful feeling, if you just maybe clasp two fingers together and just breathe that in, and just breathe in that openness and that space and that freedom and that nature, and you're feeling all the beautiful things and the singing and the happiness, and you're clasping those fingers and you're anchoring in that feeling into those fingers, and just breathe it totally in, and then you can release, and you can release your fingers. And maybe just do it again. Fill your body up again. Clasp your fingers again. Breathe in that freedom, that openness, that one with nature, the universe, everything, the singing, the vibration, the birds, everything that you find so beautiful that makes you come alive. You're alive. Just nice, fill it, all that emotion straight into your fingers. Breathe them in, and then just release. And release your fingers, and you're creating an anchor, and all those emotions are inside of you. And that anchor, if you squeeze your fingers anytime that you need to squeeze those fingers together and to get that state of openness and beauty, you have the power to do that, because all you have is that anchor that you've set. And you can do that again and again with so many different anchors. So you're in that unresourceful state. If you're in that frustrated state, you can calm yourself down, you get in that now state, and you get to that highest level, because you can. That was intense. That was good. Felt good. Yeah. Is that okay? And everyone that's watching, you can all do this. Susanna?
Yeah.
Talk
you
to
want
me.
me to add something to that?
Talk to me, yeah.
We were talking about this question that we sometimes ask in the conversations when we do our NLP coaching sessions, which is how much of action, for instance, if you feel frustrated, how much action would be enough so that frustration goes down. And in my personal case with my dad, for instance, I was telling Danielle, I'm calling him a couple of times a day to have breakfast with him. And thank God we have the 6-hour difference, because that allows me to play with all my schedule. So I'm calling him for breakfast and for lunch and spend time on Skype. And I read him poems, and he does, his memory is kind of going away, but I remind him of things he did in the past. So all that makes me go to sleep at night in peace. So after I'm doing this, I don't feel that frustration anymore. I can't go and visit. I can't fly to Canada anymore. So that's one thing I wanted to add. And so for anybody listening now, what would be the type of action that you will give you some certain level of satisfaction, and that will be a useful channeling of this frustration that you're feeling? So what would be that action, and how much of that do you need to do in order to find some peace inside, whatever the subject of your frustration might be? So that's one thing that I do. But also, I don't know if we have time to do that. But I was sharing with Danielle earlier about my yes signal
that was great.
practice, and maybe if you wanted to join us and do it together,
let's do it,
girls. What we want to do is basically, I'll give you what we want to do first, and then we do it. We want to establish a state of yes in the body, and then we use that yes in order to communicate with our unconscious mind to use that frustration usefully, like intelligently, smartly. So probably some of you already have that yes, because you're all working with energy, you're working with the unconscious. So probably you have that feeling of positive, pleasant feeling in the body when there's a full yes for something. I don't know if you have it already, but your body knows it. So what I want you to do, just because now you're all relaxed, the 4 of us here, we're all relaxed after the now state. I'm feeling so good. So just close your eyes for a moment and just allow your shoulders to drop, and just allow this flow of energy to come down from the top of your head, moving down towards the tip of your toes, allowing this soothing, loving, grounding energy to activate each cell of your body, feeling it tingling and relaxing your shoulders, your eyelids, relaxing all these little muscles around your eyelids, on the eyelids, around the eyes, feeling so relaxed. And even though you might feel consciously that is not happening, know that your unconscious mind is hearing these instructions and is following them. And as you're moving deeper and deeper into a relaxed state, you know, that level of light trance that you need now in order to communicate effectively with your unconscious mind, there is a level there that you know that you've been using it already. And allowing yourself to be in that space there, deeply relaxed, I want you to ask your unconscious mind, mentally, unconscious mind, can you please give me a full signal of yes in the body so that I can recognize it? And then wait. In order to help that, you can repeat yes many times. Usually it's a very pleasant feeling. It feels good, uplifting. It's warm, vibrating. Somewhere in your body, there's something shifting, something moving, something happening. And you've experienced this state before because you had yeses before. You knew in the past moments when you had to choose something and it was a clear yes. And you remember that. That's right. Yeah. And I want you to nod when you have that yes. Yeah, good. And I want you to take that feeling and make it stronger a little bit, amplify it, double it and triple it so that you can feel it better and notice it better next time it happens. And now let's imagine that there was frustration that you were feeling. But think of an area of frustration in your life now. Bring it forth a little bit. Maybe your office, you know, your work area. And then just ask your unconscious mind, can you please use this frustration to the greatest good for everybody around, including myself? Use this energy of this frustration that I'm feeling now in order to create new possibilities, new versions of me, brighter, better experiences for myself and for everybody around me. And please give me a yes when these possibilities have been awakened within the nervous system. And when this communication happened, when the unconscious mind has successfully transferred towards my conscious mind, throughout my entire neurology, my entire nervous system, receiving now all these informations that I need, so that this frustration can be now properly channeled and used for the greatest good. And when you have this yes, when this is done, please give me a great, clear signal of yes in my body now. And when you know that this process is complete, when your neurology has been entirely programmed, when this information has been stored at a very deep level that you cannot even remove it, even if you wanted to, you can take a deep breath, open your eyes, and come back to now.
Great.
Yeah.
I love this work.
Yeah.
You're making me hot, girl. That was gorgeous. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't even express the amount of love I've got for you, girl.
It's so wonderful to experience that we give to others, to be able to get it back, you know, to just feel it ourselves. It's just wonderful. Love it. Thank you, Susanna. Brilliant.
Lots of love.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh gosh, does anyone else want to just add to this? Because I feel like
I'm curious, was it easy for you girls to get the yes signal? Were you used to that or not? Because maybe people listening want to know if maybe we're used to that. Was it the first time you were trying?
I'd only done yes for the first time when I did it with you about an hour ago. So for me, but it came very quickly because everybody in their life has got something that they can just go yes to, that they're proud of, that they felt fabulous with. You know, everyone, whatever situation you're in, there's always something, maybe like anything from family, from friends, to love, to relationships, to marriage.
Oh my God, he's saying that. My yes goes over the roof.
Yeah, there's a million yeses.
I found it a little bit more difficult at first because I generally use a pendulum to get yes and no. But so I wasn't quite sure what I was looking for. I was thinking, am I going to have a trigger that like a thing, you know, like you often ask in hypnosis for a yes and a no, moving the finger or something. So I was waiting for perhaps that kind of signal, but then you suddenly start feeling the tingling in the body when you mentioned that. So it did take me longer. So perhaps others did as well. But when you kind of get it and you allow it, you know, without kind of thinking, is it right? Is it? Because we question ourselves, don't we? But when you allow it to sort of bubble up, and as Kate said, it's so lovely to have someone else do for you. So nice.
Isn't it?
Beautiful. Thank you, Suzanne.
That's why I love it.
For me, I got a. I'm used to asking my subconscious what questions, and I get my responses are normally like a knowing. It's just like, it's not a voice, but just I just get a knowing that comes, and it's not a feeling, because my problem in the past, and that's, you know, why I'm so passionate about helping people feel, is that I just shut down all my feelings. And so I'm sort of work in progress. I'm learning myself and getting my feelings back to the sort of rich spectrum that we all need to have. And I found initially I got like a, and I know normally I'm looking for that opening feeling, because I know that open feeling is where I feel safe and comfortable, and I know that opening feeling is a feeling of goodness for me, and anything that feels like my shoulders are coming in and I'm protecting myself, and that's what I'm looking for, that feeling. That's the no for me, and the yes is more an opening of the shoulders. But I also got like quite a tingling, like an almost excited feeling in my heart, and I wasn't sure if do I trust this? Is that fear or is it excitement? And, you know, and I know they're really just the same thing, really. And so I was trying to work out whether that's a good or bad, and it's still there now. It's sort of pounding away, and so I think that was part of my yes that I hadn't actually felt before. So that was great. So thank you.
Well, one thing I'd like to add is that the more we practice, the clearer the yes gets.
Yeah.
I've been practicing with my yes for a long time, such a long time. Actually, I was telling Danielle that I got it during my meditation. I was having this physical experiences during my meditation, and I didn't know what it was. And then I don't know how come I stumbled across this exercise that I was written in one of my NLP books, and I said, well, let me play with that. And then I was surprised to see that feeling of that uplifting is so powerful for me. It's like, I can't doubt it. I mean, it's greater than I. It's so powerful. It's so much energy. There's heat and there's energy moving up, and everything opens up, and it's a state of joy without reason. Like, I just feel happy.
Yeah, I love it.
And as I practiced with the yes, I got that, and I said, oh my God, this is what I was feeling before, and I couldn't say what it was.
Yeah.
And things get so much simpler when you make choices.
Yeah.
Or when you ask, who was saying, Kate, you were asking, Danielle, what would be that feeling that you would need now? What would you like to experience? For instance, instead of frustration, I like to feel creative. I can just get my yes and then invoke creativity. My nervous system, my unconscious mind, can you please connect to that feeling of creativity now, and then wait for the yes and let the unconscious do the job. As I said, our feeling of frustration comes from the main idea that we are powerless, that we are smaller than the problem. Our definition of ourselves gives us the impression that we are smaller than what's happening. But of course, I am smaller. I am smaller than the coronavirus crisis, right? I am, in a sense. But my nervous system knows better than I. So better make that little guy there work. I don't know why I call it little guy, but whatever. Maybe that's just my way of, my representation of it. But I think the smartest way to do is to let that part, which is greater than the problem, to deal with it. Because if I go fight against it, I will end up frustrated and unhappy. But the unconscious mind has the solutions most of the time.
Thanks, Susanna. Thank you. So, Lee or Kate, do you want to add anything else to it?
Yes, the one thing that I was thinking, when you were talking about is adding the creativity, but also adding the gratitude for what you do have.
Yes.
And sometimes I think part of what we're going through with frustration is grief. At this current times, grief for what we used to have, the coffee shops, the office, the whatever it might be. But I think when you can start being grateful for the little bit that you do have in that, and we compare ourselves to, I've got this, but not as much as, or whatever. When you start thinking, thank God I've got a garden, there's so many stories on the internet of people who are running on their 7-meter balcony and finishing, a marathon. I've got a garden that I can find a 100-meter loop around. So I go around 30 times and I've done 3 kilometers. Yeah, it's not as exciting as going for a proper run, but it's better than a treadmill. And the weather's generally been fine to do it. The one day was a bit chilly, and we will be going into winter with this, but so what? You put warm clothes on, at least I've got that garden to do it, because I wouldn't run up and down my balcony. I can promise you now, it's not. And so it's a beautiful outlet to actually at least be outside, at least get some exercise. And so many people don't even have that. They're in a little apartment. So many people are alone. So I don't know, whatever it is that you do have, if we can bring that gratefulness into it as well, I think it's quite a good benefit.
And the thing is, the people that have only got, their apartments or a balcony is still an outside space. But some people, if they don't even have that, it's being grateful of what they have and what you've actually got. What have you physically got in your life you can wake up in the morning and be grateful for? Your family. If you're on your own, then you've still got the sky, you can see outside, you can still hear the birds singing, you can still see the greenery, you can see the seasons, they're changing, you can still smell, the spring or the summer. There's so many things that we are gifted in our planet and in this life that we take for granted, so many things. So it's just tuning into the most important things that really are of our existence, and amplifying that to create that space and to create that sense of it's going to be okay, because this all will pass. It will. And it will be a different world after we come through it. It will. But that doesn't necessarily mean different is worse. Different is change, and it's embracing that change and accepting, allowing, and being part of it and being at one with it, right?
You know, some funny thing just came to me while you were doing that was, while you were saying that, when you said it's going to be different, was when I was pregnant, people used to say, you know, oh, they're going to be the same afterwards. You're not. Something is going to change. You don't know what, you don't know how, you don't know, you know that, I mean, for me, it was not a happy experience. It was rather a difficult one, but I knew my life was going to change, but I didn't know how. And in the end, yes, there have been some difficulties because, you know, the lack of sleep in the early years and all that kind of thing. But on the whole, the joy and the change that's come has been amazing. So I kind of think, you know, when you were saying that, I thought, in a way, it's like a sort of a period of pregnancy or whatever for rebirthing us into something completely new, into this new world, this new life, this new something that may come up.
Rebirth. Spread the love, feel the love, be the love.
Can I just add as well on just for people that are really suffering right now and don't really know where to turn, that there are people out there to help, and the first thing is ask for help, get help if you need it, because there's no need to be suffering alone, because we are all here for you guys. So just reach out to somebody, and if you're not finding the help you need from whoever's helping you right now, then find someone else that really does work.
Absolutely.
Can work with you and can help you, because it's just, you know, it's just, when I was watching that thing about these women being like suffering a lot of domestic violence at the moment, you know, for those people who are stuck and don't really feel grateful for the situation they're in, as for them, just ask and get help somehow, or whatever you need, because there will be someone there that can help, and don't feel like you're alone, because
that's so
yeah.
Well, I mean, I just want to wrap this up now, because we've been talking, I could talk forever with you guys. I mean, from a state of unresourcefulness to a state of a different level of like love and compassion, and I'm up there with the fairies now, so I'm happy. But like, I just want to say that everybody's link, anyone watching this, everybody's link's going to be listed on the write-up, so please, we are all here for you. We're trying to do this every Tuesday and every Friday, and the people that are here are the people that are right for this, you know, for this time. So just don't ever be scared to ask. As Kate said, you know, there's always a contact, a solution, and there's always a way to feel better. You know, you can feel better, and you will feel better. We will all feel better, and let's just go through that. So I want to say thank you, all of you, again. And I'm sending out love to everybody watching, and sending love to you guys. Thank you for helping me this morning as well. And yeah, I'm looking for, maybe we can do one on loss. I'd quite like to do an NLP Talks on loss, just to help certain people, you know, go through them. So that'd be wonderful.
Reinventing yourself.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. God bless you all. Right, everyone on Facebook and everyone that's streaming live, I'll see you another time. I'm going to stop recording. Hold on, I'm going to be with you guys. Hold on, let me just stop the live stream. Hold on, is that stopped? Yes, and now I've just got you. I'm going to stop.